Okay, just thought I would let everyone know what's going on. Pretty much the Donald Trump administration has imploded. And they could see this coming. And trust me, I listen to a lot of people on secondary media, but I doubt that I need one in me. Um, right now to be hooked up to, I don't even have a live chat on. The federal government has allowed a series of instances to happen for the past, I want to say, 3 months now, since I last gave a news update about the civil suit injuncture into national security and those things that will lead back there into the lieutenant general and the Clintons basically being a accomplice to the Epstein logs and that civil suit, which there's another one. Hopefully they won't take it out on somebody there, which is myself with the Ghislaine controversy. Back into what I was saying, for the last 3 months, well, really for the past 2 years, I don't know if you know, it's very easy to find. If you look up Nevada Black Ops indictment or Bush tribunal indictment or anything like that, or Obama indictment, you can find these things online. I think they got them in 3 or 4, and I definitely got it in Russian, 3 or 4 different languages. Of the indictment of 22, it consists of H.W. Bush, George W. Bush, John Brennan, Dick Cheney, and John Kerry, John McCain, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, George Soros, David Rockefeller, Condoleezza Rice, Brzezinski, Peter Monk, Bandar bin Sultan, just some of the big names on the indictment, Brent Snowcraft, and of course Edgar Brofman Sr., which has been executed for a while now. It seems by the tooth of the majority that can't go after me. The Senate, I heard, has thought about sending impeachment papers out next week. Their inquiries, and you got to realize that whenever you have an article to strike and a president has kept the government has been one-sided now for about 6 years, and it's either from, and I hate to, and I always try to take up for the Donald Trump administration up until a certain point, is because they don't really have anyone to take advantage of. Our civil courts are all we have. We can't give up civil forfeiture, and there's a case in the courtroom right now. Forgive me, I checked my mail earlier, but there's a case in the courtroom, and I don't know if you can see that, but it's pretty clear. There it says Apple Incorporated, and then it's got a declaration of inmate filing there, and then there's a 28 USC, and then you can see at the bottom about signature it says 1746. And anytime you get something like that, you don't want to be executed. And this started off about 5 years ago when the government really took off on corporations and the amount of corporations that would be involved in the communications mass MK Ultra, and they were trying for a cover-up, blackmail and mercenaries to their own health care plan, which was the Obamacare, which is still in the courts with me, but it's actually been struck down 3.5 years ago. A lot of people don't know that. The Supreme Court was heavily involved. No other voices, no other Kurdish protesters, I hope, would be over here. But the Supreme Court was involved about 3.5 years ago, and they come in. They said, "Well, there's a whistleblower that the Clintons are trying to plant information on. Didn't work out really well to their advantage. These people uh, blame this whistleblower for a lot of the sexual internet crimes that were going on. Not exactly the dark web, but what you see on the voyeurism and some of those patents that the Air Force really can't pick up to go into Iran, and about voices and sexual stimulations and uh, I've got of course an ex there was an ex-girlfriend, is quite a little bit older than me, but there was also a younger woman. There's a history there with the phone and computers and those hard drives and those accounts. But I'm not going to go too much into that because the government's already embarrassed themselves as much as they can. But the reason Admiral Rogers has been in the Justice Department as of late, and I've really had to do some things. Um, if you don't know about me, and if you do, you would know that my mind and my time, well, my mind shouldn't, but my time is always surfaced around the history of about 6, 7 years. I just told you about this mass MK Ultra blackmail. They're getting back to Apple. They're really the start and innovations of starting the corporate kill off and being the lead sponsor in that area of terrorism in the Middle East. And Mike Rogers has been in the office, and Nakasone has been trying to cover up a lot of his beliefs of leadership. And Richard Leggett, which is someone who also helped me survive the 2016 election. There was the rule of law was put in March. They said that they couldn't use the Eighth Amendment or kill me, and they were supposed to be saving my life, and it's been a little difficult for them to do that whenever there's so many people trying to live in the past. The Donald Trump administration is thinking that, well, things maybe could be one-sided now that the FBI is gone. That was in the Mueller investigation after 2017. That when you're supposed to have an illegal, much less a non-peaceful transition of power. And Anthony Weiner had stopped that election going on from the mid-year investigation going on until the Crossfire Hurricane. So both of these people were involved. It's very important to know. And they stopped the election for an email, and that person was prosecuted on retaliatory instances. Now, it's not all the time that usually when the Bureau starts prosecuting someone within the Obama administration that is accused of sex crimes, it kind of works towards you're next on, you're a little further down on the list type of character. And, Clinton's being at the top of that, and then other people saying it's Epstein, and then saying, hey, some people it's Europe, and then saying the Hollywood cult. And, all of these different governments, they have different, I guess you could say industrial complexes that bring people in and out, and a lot of this from a lot of the immigration and wars. But getting back into what I was saying earlier, that Mike Rogers cannot be covered up. Paul Nakasone is a Democrat. He has let Lindy Rothschild and others into and this is very important. National security is an agency that I've been kind of really close to for about a little over 6 years. My scandal started. I was the only person that got attacked after Edward Snowden came out, and there was a mass project, basically started on me with MK Ultra, assassination, blackmail, anything that they could get people into doing their jobs. I made a lot of people rich off of my suffering, and almost didn't make it last night, and the night before, and the night before, and the night before. This man has let our national security and the Trump administration and the mainstream media, Fox has backed themselves into a corner. MSNBC, I don't think they really care about the means of, if they did, they would really get rid of their analysis. In CNN, and you all know this fake news has been known for about 2.5 years now. So the Russian narrative was played out. Of course, Donald Trump's got some things going on the inside. He sent a letter from his lawyer, this Charles Hardingley fellow, and they've got a national security director that weaponizes the fake news media. And it's been fake news media for a long time on me now. And there's a Gorbachev-Putin monopoly from the Hammer and the Vulcans of the basically a group of people that were dedicated to the H.W. Bush Nazi lineage, and so that kind of monopoly has synced its way into the government and done it through me. And there's not too many people that take action on me. There's very few many people that know about me in these cases. Why would you want to kill over business? Why would you want to kill over the bulk collection narrative, which was the Clintons had a bank speech. Chris Christie was falsely prosecuted, so this was born. And, of course I believe in God, but I don't believe in any of the born-again Christians or anything else like that. The Clintons opened an email, the Republicans opened the email server. That email server was not prosecuted correctly, still stopped up under the election. And Donald Trump has bought into people around him that really do not care if he fails. And he has never really, I think, he's not paid attention to the people. He's put himself in, he couldn't put himself in other people's shoes. And I can't be the one to be out in front suffering for anything else that they've made up or tried to sneak in there. And there's not a narrative to really come up with. And the bulk collection narrative was, here were these attacks. Here were these businesses. This was really got into for the first 2.5, 3 years. It basically stopped at the end of the 2016 election. Now, Goldman Sachs was probably don't put that shit on the other end of my face. Goldman Sachs was the big proprietor. I said, don't put that shit on the other end of my face. Are you fucking retarded? Goldman Sachs. Let me get back to what I was. You fucking dumbass. Goldman Sachs was really the proprietor of what's been going on, and they always kept the government, you have to do this, you have to do this, and there's a lot of heat on them for the market and the terrorism and the Gestapo and some of the other practices. So they get the businesses into it, and like I said earlier, Apple's one of those big businesses. Don't put that motherfucker on me. You need to fucking cut your goddamn data off. I don't need it. Are you retarded? The assassination of the Iranian general. There's an idiot that played into the November 20th report. I emailed Trump a few times. I called the legal counsel. I called the FBI. I called the Justice Department. I called OIGs, and I said, listen, you have to get rid of the NSA director. He is one-sided. He doesn't care if people die. He is not protecting the nation's national security. That is not a fucking joke. That is a big fucking problem. That is the number one problem in this government. It's the most fucking important thing that you cannot let slip between your hands. Much less think about, Well, someone else can handle it. There is no other national security. There is no one else that does that in the government. So you can't just play around with that. And what they've done is they bioengineered. There was a big prompting at the Golden Globes. There's a big call for a lot of privacy release. And so this man is taken about 3 months ago, and he started attacking James Mattis and CIA or Gina Haspel, several other members of people in the government, just trying to put his weapons program everywhere. I don't know if you know, but he has weaponized the government, and that's something that national security doesn't do. And he has put a lot of people and targeted a lot of businesses and put a lot of people and had some hate towards what the basis of this is a lot of people just used to I'm worth money. I've been held down. I've been silenced, but not really silenced. It's just one of those, I would rather get things out of the way as quickly as publicly as possible. But these people that have been playing around with data, that are making diversions, getting attention off of themselves, attacked a lot of businesses, tagged along a lot of hate and controversy of women's and rights, to where there's been scrutiny in the courts that can't be tagged along to mine, saying is that people don't want any women's civil rights. So one of the functions of things is a lot of everything has been struck down. They have no reason to do what they're doing. And the only reason they're doing that is because, well, I don't really think that anyone knows what they're doing. But obviously the government used to keep up with everything that I was doing before 2016. People locked me up. They were running on the basis of corporations and favors and bribes and murder and suicide, and now it's premeditated murder. There's congressional articles out there. There's OIG reports. And Nakasone has took off after people. He's taken and sampled data, and then he has used speech as a weapon, and then tried to turn it into something it's not. Now, the General Dynamics has a platform that they had got back in, I think, August of a cloud-based program to basically hold the line on any of the past functions of business or someone else that would try to generate that on the public. Just a few crazies, maybe the Facebook and not weaponizing our Pacer systems, Oracle, Amazon, which has been a big asset takeover, Apple, and of course Microsoft you always need Microsoft to start these things. And Microsoft was the basis of a very wealthy man back in the 90s and 2000s, and then has turned his shares into pitching weapons and illegal vaccines around the nation. And that's something about depopulation. That's something that I'm taking on in the courts. About the Guidestones and from this monopoly, because the Guidestones is the biggest racial landmark in the United States and quite possibly the world, and it doesn't really have any meaning. It doesn't. It's a sheer. It's based on hate, racism, or murder, or psyops, and false flags. It doesn't really symbolize anything that we as a nation do. And I really am worried about the safety of myself and others. And it's best not to attach onto this. And like I said, John Roberts is at one of those critical points right now. And when they let Lynn Forrester or Lynn Rothschild take into our national security system, you got to understand these people are not national security. They have not spent years in the field of encryption or cyber intelligence or security. They know nothing about anything that is anything about safety. They have profited off of hundreds of thousands or millions of deaths around the world. The innovators and leaders of war crimes in the Middle East or profit a lot off of other, from the rate system and other governments. And there's not really a reason for Paul to take sight off of himself and then switch it over to someone else. The government walk its way into seeing what was coming and seeing that there was a trap in Iraq and this general was killed. And there's a lot of speculation about Israel and the central bank and Saudi Arabia and a number of people, because this intelligence gets rerouted back to the United States. And then around those time periods, I was having a feeling to where I was almost dying at the same time. And Congress, they just put these articles out here. You have to have someone in the government that is clearanced. It's almost like mashing the nuclear button for anyone in 3 courts. You have to have a lot of permission, say, to kill me, and what these people have been allowing other people to do. So I've been having to take it's really pathetic measures to gain others' attention in the government, to keep the government from letting me die. And you have to understand, these people are they're psychopaths. They think if there's another whistleblower that is funded in Ukraine for $1 million, and they can play this phony one-sided act in the federal government, just say, well, we can't protect Americans, or give the crummy line, Republicans have no freedom of speech. And the government is not really one-sided. The government can be protected. There's just people not doing their jobs, and people really need to pray in the Defense Department right now, Homeland Security and the FBI. But the government needs a national security director that cares about the government. Mike Rogers is involved. There's another investigation involved, and Republicans are not calling for anyone to step down. And you always hear the Democrats doing that, but of course they wouldn't call for their star corrupter in the government to step out of back into the shadows. And there's is a lot of abuse on the end of where a government is supposed to be privacy protected. And the Donald Trump administration needs to really understand that they really have a responsibility, and it's not just a Pence argument for anyone. These people's lives are involved, and they think if they kill a person in the courts that it's going to, they can protect this other whistleblower and fund them, that the one in the Justice Department or the one from the Clinton email server, the one that was killed, will somehow that will help them, and I don't see that happening. Whenever they're trying to kill over civil suits connected to other civil suits, you have obviously, these people have no problem killing people. There's plenty of, just besides, there's plenty of women to go around. There's soliciting. I told the government not to do something else to me. Do not solicit minors in my name and defamate my character. After all of these running around, and there's really nothing that I can do from here over Iraq and Iran, even with the nuclear agreement. These people, they understand that they don't make the right decisions, and they know that they're making demands, and there's nothing good going to come out of those demands. I can promise you that. And whenever you start making demands, and there's no one really willing to work with you, even your allies, you lose allies. It's it's something that the American people and our civil forfeiture or civil rights cannot be asked to worry about. Well, let's not get back into a Peter Strzok situation to where they're putting national security and the defense, protecting basically another whistleblower after a series of events and just kind of keeping that going, have a Mueller investigation. He's been wandering around aimlessly for a little over 2 years now, and they've got Nevada Black Ops indictments with 6 years on it, and Donald Trump could have been out of this a long time ago. But they really need to call for the NSA to step down. The director, they need to replace and find different leadership, and the military needs to listen to the people. They need to understand that the people are not the problems. They need to understand that they are protected to a sworn duty of upholding people's rights when there is a criminal system involved that is trying to reconstruct what the military even means, and which is what their problem is from 9/11 and in Iraq wars. Yeah, but there's not a cyber future in what people pay for, and I've been very I'm not supposed to be alive, and the problem is what's wrong with that? I am supposed to be alive, and I should have nothing to be ashamed or hide for, because there's so many other cases in the government that revolve around business. But there's not really a picking out measure that they need to do to me and try to put on the back of this. And it's not like killing this is going to get them like that. I'm not hated by many people, and I want people obviously want what's best for the government, but you obviously always want what's best for yourself. And I don't try to as many things as I come in contact with, especially when it comes to the realm of technology, I don't get too comfortable with it, and I would ask other people not to do the same, because it draws a line in the sand of who you are, how interested you are, the history of knowing what's going on over the not only Iran but the elections. And you can't control people's sex life, and that's one thing that national security cannot just go back or make up things or make up some other type of platform to worry about doing, because that has really been, besides testing out, basically writing a letter to John Brennan and saying, hey, well, we're going to test out all of your cool little gadgets that you can't find, and you can't get on eBay, and you can't get on Amazon, and you can't get on, these are black market weaponries, and that's where they need to stay, in the black market. So you don't ever do a United States civilian like that and then try to attach on numerous different bulked up areas to where it makes no sense about what anyone's doing about anything. And keep in mind that, so we're going to see what happens whenever they put their inquiries out, but be looking for another thing. The Republicans aren't going to get that far. When they start calling I heard that Trump had blocked another witness, but they're really not good. But they didn't really. They're going to put a show on for. Well, you hope that they wouldn't, because the government's not going to make it long with Trump. I mean, he's trying to say that he's trying to put people out in front of him and say, well, maybe we can just kill these people over these people if we don't leave these people alone, if we don't get these people out of if we don't find new intelligence chiefs in the government. And that's not good for his. I mean, he's never going to have a courts to go to. They're not going to be sympathetic, and he could really get convicted in the Senate. And it may not be on the basis of Joe Biden. There may be some different other things that come out. But I can tell you one thing: he really needs to know that economy leader is not good, and they really should separate the courts from this. Give people their rights, and if he's going to make a last-ditch effort for any of the last 10 months, it needs to be on a better area to where, we're getting out of stalking. We're getting out of the last leech effort to hang on to a spare rib and try to say, please kill for business, please kill for, they just got out of this in the Bush administration, and that's serious. And whenever you have executions, you have to keep that in mind. But thanks everyone for listening, and I'll talk to you next time. God bless you.